William was cross. "John is going to make me late," he grumbled. "He should have been here by now with a coal delivery. But oh no, he'll most likely be arguing with someone at how unchanged his class is. The silly, cantankerous fool. Ever heard of the phrase, pot, kettle, black?" "Oh, shut up," snapped William. "This is the 4th time in 2 months he's been late. It is unacceptable." "It won't be John's fault for the delay. He likes to keep to time just as much as the rest of us do," explained Fred. "It'll have something to do with the mines." "Rubbish! It's true. Miners have gone on strike before and caused delays for us in the past." "Well, I haven't heard anything about a strike." "As if they'd tell you," chuckled Jimmy. "I'm surprised you even know where coal comes from." William was about to retort when John backed into the sheds. "Where have you been?" thundered William. "All right, don't get your drain cocks in a twist," huffed John. "I've just delivered the coal to the hopper now. About time." "Is everything all right?" asked Fred, concerned. "Well, there's coal, but there ain't much of it." William seized his opportunity. "My train is due first. I shall be cold first," he shouted abruptly. "William, that's not fair. We all need coal." "Yes, well, my needs are greater than yours," and William puffed lordly away. The other engines, who were very cross at his selfish behaviour, closely followed him. Fred, however, held back. "This seems to be becoming quite frequent now. Do you think the coal mines will go on strike soon?" asked Fred worriedly. "With less coal and longer waiting times, that's exactly what I think is going to happen," said John gravely. And he was right. A few weeks later, the coal mines went on strike one by one. At first, the engines didn't really notice, but soon they felt it. The stocks ran low, and there wasn't enough for all the steam engines. A few mines remained open, but they now had to supply an entire railway network. The coal had to be divided equally. It still meant that not enough could go around. The Railway Board expressed their concerns to the National Coal Board, but there was nothing they could do. "We'll have to just sit tight until the strike is over," advised Fred. "It will be over soon." But it wasn't. The strike lasted longer than expected. A small amount of trains were cancelled, to the annoyance of the passengers. The shedmaster had to take drastic action. Due to there being so little coal, only the smallest and most fuel-efficient steam engines will be allowed out. I'm afraid the larger engines will have to remain in the shed until the strike is over. The bigger engines were most upset by this, but they fully understood. Except for William. He found this most inconvenient. "I shouldn't be kept prisoner in the sheds. I'm more than economical on burning coal." "Well, not according to the shedmaster," teased Jimmy. "He says it's due to your fiery temperament." "Besides," sniggered Ivett, "our needs are greater than yours." The locomotive roster became very different. Babs and Vic, the diesel engines, needn't worry about a coal strike, so the shedmaster put them both in charge of the express trains. Ivett and Robin were given other passenger services, while Jimmy and Horwich had to deal with the commuter trains. However, the trains became longer and heavier due to the reduced services, so often the engines had to double-head their trains. John was deemed small enough to work. He was in charge of the goods, along with Paddy, the London Transport pannier tank, who had been asked to help out. All the engines worked very hard and did their best to keep the trains moving under the unusual circumstances. But it soon became clear that they needed another engine to help shunt the trains at Euston Station. Without Jimmy acting as station pilot, trains became congested and time was lost arranging them. "The shedmaster says that we have to have another engine from a different region come and help us at the station," said Horrocks. "I wonder who it'll be," wondered Ivett. "I feel a little guilty," said Jimmy. "I won't be able to show them the ropes. They'll be well and truly thrown in the deep end." "Don't worry about that. The shedmaster will have requested an experienced engine that knows what they are doing. Euston will be in good buffers," soothed Horrocks. That made Jimmy feel better. The next morning, Jimmy arrived to collect his commuter train. He found the coaches waiting for him. "This is a nice change," he thought to himself. Then he heard an engine coming up alongside him. "This must be the engine who's come to help us," puffed Jimmy excitedly. "Hello there, welcome to Euston Station." "Hey, how's it going?" came the reply. Jimmy cut short his response in surprise. Alongside him drew a very odd-looking tank engine, with 3 domes, a stovepipe chimney, short wheelbase, and a squashed yet broad appearance. This was no British engine. This was in fact an American engine. Jimmy was surprised. He'd never seen an engine quite like this before. The engine greeted Jimmy again. "Hey, how's it going?" Perfectly fine, thank you," replied Jimmy finally. He was a little unsure. "What an honor it is to be doing your job," continued the American. "Oh, oh, thank you. It's nothing amazing, really. It's just shunting coaches correctly, but that doesn't mean it's not important. Do you shunt coaches usually?" "Kinda. I'm a dock tank." "Oh, wonderful. So you know all about shunting, I suppose. Excuse me for asking, but are you American? Is there a problem with that?" No, not at all," stuttered Jimmy. "I've never met an American engine before. Nice to meet you. Hope you make yourself at home." Presently the guard blew his whistle and Jimmy had to depart. "Oh, sorry, I've got to go. Good luck with everything." "Thanks. Have a nice day now." Later, Jimmy met Ivett on the main line. He told him all about the American dock tank at Euston. "They came over during the Second World War," said Ivett. "Quite powerful little engines they are. I've always wanted to meet one." "He seemed friendly. He told me to have a nice day," chuckled Jimmy giddily. "Americans have a much more positive attitude than working compared to us cynical Brits." "I'm not cynical," Jimmy pointed out. "No, but William is," laughed Ivett. The American engine was kept busy at Euston Station. He was used to a busy environment at Southampton Docks, so took to shunting at the station with ease. He continued to surprise the other engines, but they all greeted him warmly. Paddy was the most excited to see him. He was the only engine to have met an American engine before. "When I used to work on the Great Western Railway, I was fortunate enough to work alongside the other American engine that was shipped straight here during the war," he explained. "They were the S-160s, big freight engines with an incredibly loud chime whistle. Brand new and barely run in. They were tough, but kind. They had to be, for they were sent far and wide across the world to help other war-torn railways." "Brave machines," admitted John quietly. Paddy had to deliver a small van train to Euston. When he arrived, he saw the American engine talking to Babs loudly. "London ain't half as busy as New York. I should know I worked there." Paddy was puzzled. "That accent's a bit off," he queered. "Those American engines were sent straight from the works to here. There's no way he could have worked in the States." "Sounds peculiar," added the driver. "It seems our American friend isn't what he says he is." Paddy thought long and hard about this. It seemed very strange, but stranger was to follow. Paddy arrived back at the station to collect his empty vans. The American engine hadn't noticed him arrive. He was busy talking to Horrocks. Paddy listened carefully again. "When I was a young'un on the old railroads of the West, we used to get chased by Indians on horses every single day." "Wow! You wouldn't see that here," puffed Horrocks, amazed. Paddy's mouth dropped. The American engine's accent had completely changed, and his anecdote was something more familiar in a Wild West film. "He's a fake," hissed Paddy crossly. "He can't keep it up," advised the driver. "Wait till he gets to the sheds tonight. What persona is he going to be then?" "We'll find out," huffed Paddy. That evening, Jimmy had brought the last commuter train into the station. For some reason, the American engine seemed to be holding back. "Come and join us at the sheds. Everyone would love to meet you," invited Jimmy kindly. Oh, no thanks," came the meek reply. "There's no need to be shy. You are most welcome." "Gosh, thanks, but I'll take that as a yes," interrupted Jimmy. "Now come on, follow me." Jimmy led the way. The American engine sheepishly followed. When they arrived, they found all the engines waiting for them. Paddy watched the American suspiciously. William just seemed to glare at him. "Here he is," called Jimmy cheerfully. The engine looked nervously around. "An American? Shut up! Welcome to our sheds. We hope you will be comfortable here," said Fred politely. The engine stayed silent. "We never asked your name." The engine remained silent. "Where are you from?" ventured Paddy. The American's eyes seemed to show a flicker of fear. "He's from New York," announced Babs. Horrocks recalled his conversation earlier. "You said you were from the West, being chased by Indians on horses." The engine gulped. "I heard both tales too," added Paddy. "Oh, this is just perfect," snarled William, delighted. "We are in the company of a spy." "Nonsense," snapped Jimmy. "Well, he's not who he says he is. Why lie? I've never heard of a railway spy before. There's a first for everything. We live in dark times." "Oh, shut up, William. He's not a spy. He is an engine." "Fine. An intruder. An imposter. Same difference." "I'm none of those things," quivered the engine. "Then who are you?" asked the engines together. There was a long silence. "I don't have a name," muttered the engine sadly. "He's English." "I was never given one. I was just made for the war and shipped out. I have no identity." The engines were a little subdued. Paddy felt guilty. He couldn't help but feel responsible for the engine's uncomfortable situation. When the war ended, I was no longer a war engine, but that's all I'd ever known. To prepare for invasions and conflict, it's an unusual identity, but it's the only one war engines will understand. When my true purpose ended, I was lucky enough to be bought by the Southern Railway. I was very grateful, but I soon realized I still had no personal identity. I was built in the USA, but never lived there. I don't even have an accent. I've lived my whole life trying to make out I belong somewhere, when in fact I never have. The engines were most dismayed by this revelation. Jimmy broke the silence. "But you do have an identity. The only American class of engine to run on British railways. Surely that is an identity to be proud of. You needn't try so hard. You must embrace your roots. An engine who came to us in our hour of need. An alliance that runs deep and binds our two nations together for eternity. You have proven a hero in past and in present. You may be American built, but you are British bred, and there is nowhere more fitting for you to belong to than the country you helped to save. The eyes of the American engine seemed to water, for he was touched by Fred's speech. "Thank you," he whispered. "I think we should name you," added Fred. "An engine always feels a sense of belonging when they are named." The engines all suggested a different variety of names, but it was Paddy who had the honour of bestowing the engine his name. "I name you Dominic, the USA Dock Tank." Dominic was incredibly humbled. Dominic worked very hard. He kept Euston Station on the move and proved himself to be a real credit to the railway. He became one of the family, and even William approved. Eventually, the coal miners' strike ended. Coal deliveries were in abundance, and the railway went back to normal again. All were sorry when Dominic had to leave for home. "I want to thank you all. You've made me feel like I finally belong." When he departed, his positive American attitude had rubbed off on Jimmy and Paddy, who enjoyed teasing William before he would set off from the station. "Have a nice day now." "Don't be so American," William would huff. As for Dominic, he promised to see the engines every now and again. He told the other engines on the southern region all about his new name. "Dominic suits ya," they said. "Who named you it?" "The engines of Euston," replied Dominic. "Euston?" said a familiar voice. "I've been there. Not a bad place at all. Full of kind, understanding and accepting engines. An example to us all." Dominic happily agreed.